Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. As always, I'm Boser. Happy Tuesday, you guys. I have to already stop myself from saying Monday because I'm so used to saying Monday, but unfortunately, our awesome guest couldn't meet on a Monday. Not unfortunately, doesn't matter to me. So we just get to shift it a day. Doesn't matter. We're geeking out any night of the week. And because basically, the guest tonight is an upgraded version from FGBG, and we're going to learn a lot from him. So I can't wait. But first, tell me, how has your Tuesday been, you guys? How's your week been? It's been a week and a day since I last saw you. So I hope that you've taken care of yourselves. I hope that you've been geeking out hard. I know it's con season, so a lot of you are going out. I'm seeing your pics on cosplay, on your photography. It's awesome. Keep it up. Send it our way. Let me geek out with you. But I hope that you're having a great time. I'm getting pumped because every day is closer to C2E2. That's the con that we go to. And that's Chicago Comic-Con and Entertainment Expo, C2E2, for those not from the Chicagoland area. And I'm really excited. My friends and I have some group cosplays, and this will be their first group cosplay, so I'm super stoked. But also, if you notice me doing some weird thing with my shoulder, apparently there's a thing when you turn 35 where you just wake up and your back is thrown out for like a week. And I have seen a masseuse. I had somebody crack my back today. I need to go see a chiropractor probably. I had a lovely friend lend me a little massager that I've been abusing. I just realized I said abusing a massager on the internet. It's not that kind. It's kind of goes around your neck and has little nubbins that I'm not making this any better. Yeah, I see you nodding your head, Ralph. I see him in the wings. He's like, no. It's getting worse. Backtrack. Anyway, start over. Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. But guys, I'm excited. Tonight we're geeking out about the art of literature. That's right, about writing. I don't know about you, but I want you to use the Q of the day. Use QOTD in the chat, and you can answer the question of the day, which is, what's the writing project you've been most proud of in your life? For me, I would have to say that in 7th grade, if anybody remembers AR points, I don't know if it was a local thing. I'm pretty sure it was nationwide. Nod yes or no, Ralph, if you remember AR points. Okay, kind of. AR points were those things that you read a book and you had to then take a quick quiz on. And I actually didn't love reading as a kid. And it took me forever. It still takes me forever. I'm an audiobook baddie now. But once my teacher gave me the option, she gave anybody in the class the option. You can either do AR points or write me an essay. And it could be on anything. I said, that. Give me that. And so she's like, great. The prompt this week will be, I'm going to open the dictionary. I'm going to point at a word, and you're going to write an essay on that word. Well, wouldn't you believe it? My 7th grade English teacher opens up the dictionary, randomly points at a word, and the word is nipple. And so I wrote an entire 3 pages on the word nipple, and mainly about what are men's for? They must be just for the look. I don't know. I didn't really know anything about the human anatomy much back then either, so I'm sure there's an actual answer, but we couldn't just Google things as easily back then, you guys. We couldn't ask Siri, couldn't ask Alexa. I'm just aging myself, but that's fine. Experience, like a fine wine, like cheese. But I'm more curious about your answer, so drop them in the chat as we find out the answer of tonight's geek guest. Tonight's geek guest was actually recommended by our BFF, Team Drew's Basement. I was just reaching out, and I'm like, anybody got any good people that they think would be great? And Drew immediately said, Fit and Apple TV. They're great. They got to be on. Yep, yeah, I see him dancing. You can't see what I see, so I'm gonna bring him on so that you can see what I see. So everyone, please give it up. Drop some emojis. Clap at home loud enough that I can hear it from here. Please give it up for tonight's geek guest, WrittenWritRalf from Bitten Apple TV.
That's right. It's the WrittenWritRalf talking to you straight from the set of the WrittenWrit.
See, guys, that's what a professional intro looks like. Not that bullshit that I started the show with. How you doing, WrittenWritRalf?
I am doing great. It's so funny you're here. Oh, it's been a week and a day since we last saw you, and I'm like, you took the day off yesterday? What is that, a day off?
We don't stream every day. I can only handle this shit once a week, dude.
No, man. Our show is usually on Monday, but if I'm doing a Tuesday show, I've done a Monday and a Tuesday show.
Oh, no. One a week. One a week. Listen, we have a guest later in the month from Australia. And so in order for it to like record on a Monday, it has to be like on a Saturday or a Sunday. And that's the week.
Dude, no. If you're doing something like that, we get lucky because the Wednesday show is at 10:30 p.m. and in Australia it's like either early morning, almost afternoon. So it kind of works out, yeah. So our friend AZ Volt, great artist, he's usually on the show, and that's what the one that we'll get onto a Wednesday. And then he's all like, "Hey," we're all like, "Well, you know, AZ, we're kind of tired."
Oh, it's kind of bedtime, but yeah, let's roll.
Like, what else are we gonna do? It's only afternoon.
I just finished my jog. I feel great. Well, Ralph, can I call you Ralph?
Yes, you can.
Because I already know I'm gonna butcher the whole
WrittenWritRalf. It's a mouthful. It's a whole thing. But I think it's because I come from this whole broadcasting background. So it's WrittenWritRalf talking to you straight, and it's always this voice, this radio voice that's on. So that's what I usually get. But it's funny because when you meet me on the street, hey, what's up? How you doing?
Great. So good. Thank you. Yeah. No, I noticed that you had a really great broadcasting voice in that great reel that you posted before, and some of the content that I checked out. I was like, that guy has a voice for radio. Not to say you don't have a face for radio, but
I have a face for radio too, folks.
No, it's beautiful. Put that shit on TV.
I have a permanent smile, so it helps.
Thanks for hanging out. This is going to be a little different for you because you're used to being in my seat and doing almost the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to pick your brain and hopefully get some great tips to find out how it is to be an actual host of a show. Because I think I could learn a thing or two. But before we get into any of that, I need to know your answer to the question of the day. What is your writing project you're most proud of?
It's funny because as soon as I heard your answer, I was like, I can go back then. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Let's just stay with the guy who's constantly harassing me and wants me to constantly be writing him, which is my mischievous little cat friend, who's just pure mischief and part of this little book or story that I've been working on about familiars.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm constantly writing him, and he's just pure mischief. And it's the whole concept for him that he is not happy with how familiars have been treated over the years. And a while back, he found his freedom from the rest of the familiars. And now he is above the familiars because he's gained certain powers from being independent so long.
He's evolved.
Oh, definitely. In more ways than one, and a lot of them bad.
And now he's going to start a familiar uprising and lead the people.
That's what he's been trying to do for the past 100 or couple thousand years. I don't know.
Is this based on your actual cat?
Actually, I'm a cat owner, so it is based on cats I've had. But I used to play Vampire the Masquerade on YouTube, on Yahoo. Yahoo had groups, and you used to be able to chat and do stuff on these groups. So we formed a Vampire the Masquerade role-playing game on these groups. So it became a post game where you post and I post and you post and I post, and you work the story out that way. And it's an interesting way to do a role-playing game because now you're dealing with more, and this goes into the writing right away. You're dealing with more of an idea of I'm writing something and then you're responding to it. and then I have to deal with what you responded to while I'm answering the thing. And then you always have to be able to respond or acknowledge or react to what's going on. So
Because there's no going back in that scenario.
no
editing.
Once they said it, they said it. So now you got to figure out, okay, especially as a DM, once they said it, you're like, freak, how do I fix that?
Yeah, that's some yes and to the max.
Mm-hmm. All that helps is you put a couple of rules and hopefully everybody plays by the rules. Not what always happens. But it helps if you're really creative and you can stick it to them if they're trying to stick it to you.
Are you creative? I don't really get a whole creative vibe from you.
Nah, not at all, man. Folks, yeah, I'm the most dull person you've ever.
Yeah, very vanilla. That was my first take when I saw you. I'm like, this guy snores fast.
My friends always say that I write these mischievous characters because I'm a mischievous person. I'm like, I am not a mischievous person.
He says with a Cheshire Cat grin. Yeah, okay. Okay, Ralph.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
For anybody that's not familiar with Bitten Apple TV or the Written Writ, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a geek.
Folks, we are Bitten Apple TV. So what ended up happening was a couple years back, we were at New York Comic Con, of course, and we were doing what we do now for somebody else. And then after that New York Comic Con, we said, wait a minute, we can do this on our own. And how it started off was like, let's be a network. We'll do a bunch of shows under the name Bitten Apple TV. And there was 5 of us, and we were ready to do the shows. And of course, you know what happens when you have a creative process with a bunch of people.
They quit.
4 of them dropped out. So then it was just the WrittenWritRalf doing his writing stuff. And my partner said, damn it, I didn't want to do a show. So then she ended up doing a show about her life because she was an actress. And you know how crazy that can be.
As you're talking to a theater guy, I didn't tell you that beforehand. I didn't want you to run away.
I've done theater.
Really? I don't get that vibe from you. No, just vanilla.
And scene.
So now if I go to Bitten Apple TV right now, I'm going to find content of Written Writ and you say Cadma. Ooh, even better.
Yeah, that is an acronym of all her names put together.
She's got a lot of names.
Yeah.
Mine would just be BS.
Yeah, mine's just RVT. See, I still sound like something you should be having fun with.
That's cool. RVT, yeah, you know me.
Woo, see, that's exactly what I said in the 70s and 80s.
So now you're aging yourself. Okay, good. I'm no longer the oldest person on this channel. I love this.
Dude, I'm old. I accept it.
You're not old. You're wizened. Gen X before X was appropriated from you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they gave us the name because they didn't know what to do with us. So now all of a sudden it's something else. You know, history is a funny thing because the people don't tell you why things happened, and then they'll just go with what they know from now.
It's true. Like history is almost retconned daily.
All the time.
Like you don't know what's happening, and then you just have to look back and you're like, oh, that's why it happened, and put that in the books, not the shit that actually happened.
Exactly.
So all of your content is mainly about helping others level up their writing and like interviewing guests to inspire others writing prompts. Where did you first get into writing? When did you first fall in love with writing?
Yes, definitely. WrittenWritRalf, which is the underneath of the Bitten Apple TV, is all about, well, it was, especially when I was doing the pre-recorded show, because we were doing a pre-recorded show on writing first. And then it became the live show during the pandemic. To go back, let's flash back, people. Go back to young little Ralph reading detective stories and going, I like these detective stories. Okay. I'm going to write my own detective. And that's where Maximus T. Jones came from.
Ooh,
and we started writing. So that's the secret origin.
How old were you when this happened?
8 or 9.
And so this happened just by like reading these books that you're like, I could do this.
Yeah. It was Encyclopedia Brown, which is another way of aging myself, because some people out there going, Encyclopedia Brown.
I think I've heard of that one.
It's a really great book, and if you guys want to have a nice little psychedelic feeling, go check it out. Do the research. Be a writer.
But writing is hard. Like, I know that we've got at least one writer. Shout out if you're a writer in the chat right now. I know we have at least one. Like, it's hard. It's not always somebody's cup of tea. Like, some people are really better at sketching or creating in some other way. So, like, when you're writing, like, what were those first struggles that you found from like 8 to the struggles that you might even run into now?
All right, so I'm going to tell you this, folks, and I say it all the time on the show.
Give me the real.
Writing is not hard. Everybody
have it. There you have it.
Everybody can write. Now, the question is, if you're going to level up your writing, if you're going to take it to the next level, that's when you have the issue of how do you do things and where do you go. But for you to sit down and write, anybody can do that. The whole thing. And then people, my first thing is to go, but Ralph, I don't have anything to write about. And I'll be like, bullshit. Everybody has something to write about. It's just that you're not thinking about what you can write about as something you can write about, because in your mind, you're like, well, I'm boring. And that's not, it's not the case, folks.
It's like we gatekeep ourselves from just trying. Okay.
Yeah, so my whole thing, and the reason I started the Written was because I was sitting there after reading all these books I'm writing, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I feel like something's missing, because you finish, you sit there, you read the books, they tell you how to write, and you're trying to figure out what are you supposed to do next. Then I realized that they don't talk about this part of writing where you have to take the journey to become the writer. There's no explanation of this journey that has to happen where you become the writer. And I was like, well, why don't I do a show where you and I and you take this journey together to become better writers? And that's exactly what it turned into. So I started to take all the stuff that I was learning, all the stuff I had issues with, and I started to make little videos with, so that I can go, well, I had an issue with this, so let's me talk about this with you guys on what I did and how I moved forward with this.
Okay, so describe that journey, because like what I'm hearing is these books basically treat it like a recipe book, like follow these steps and boom, you're a writer. But it's not that simple.
Well, it becomes the bigger picture. Like we were talking about in the green room, I credit D&D Vampire the Masquerade with helping my writing reach the next level. Like I was telling you, I found out as I started to become a writer and I was doing D&D that first in D&D you create your character. You're a player, so you create this character, you create their world, you create their story in this world that the DM has. So you're being helped because you already have the skeleton of how this character is supposed to be and where he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So then you become the DM and you're still playing in the sandbox. It's a bigger sandbox now, and you're trying to get all this stuff together, and you have all these rules that are helping you become a better person at telling that story. Then you become the DM who does their own thing. And when you do that, you kind of understand the rules of the universes and how they go, and you're able to take all this stuff and make your story happen in this frame of thing. So now you have all this stuff happening because you know what you did over here and you know what you did over here. So it makes it easier to write your story because you have a skeleton that's not as tight of a skeleton as it was before.
So all you D&D players out there, you're writers already.
Oh, definitely. I tell them
on page.
I tell them that all the time, especially D&D players. Dude, they're actors, they're writers, they're psychiatrists.
Yeah, psychiatrists. Yeah, if you haven't cried in a D&D session because you were working through some shit, then wait, it's coming.
Exactly. It's coming. Those are the games everybody remembers.
Yeah, I've been there. I'm like, wow, okay, wasn't ready for that.
And some of those things get really hardcore.
But like, it was an appropriate stream name. I called tonight's stream "Level Up Your Writing."
Oh, definitely.
And I kind of got that vibe from you, like immediately, watching your content. I'm like, this guy, he's a geek. He loves like D&D. He loves gaming, and so why wouldn't he automatically assign that kind of RPG to his like personal abilities? as a writer. So like, just for anybody that's like watching this back, maybe on YouTube or listening back on podcast or here in the chat right now, the rewatch. I'm gonna get that voice one day.
The rewatch.
Like, what does that journey look like? Maybe speak to those people. Let them know, like, how long did this take for you? What kind of challenges did you come across, and how did you overcome them?
It's so funny. And we were talking about this in the green room. I was beat up for a lot of things. I was a Spanish kid who liked heavy metal, D&D, comic books. It was just all over the place for me. I got beat up by the Spanish people. I got beat up by the other people. I got beat up by the jocks. It was just a beat down fest.
That's called experience points you earned, by the way.
Yeah, folks. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
That's right.
So each journey is different. Like, you're gonna have those things that beat you down. The thing is to rise above them. The thing is to keep moving forward. The thing is to just do what you want to do. You're already stopping yourself from doing it. Don't let other people stop you from doing it.
Wow, you have like the battle from within and without.
Exactly.
So at least give up on one of them.
Exactly. And if you guys know Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, we're all going on a hero's journey. Our hero's journey will either lead us to be the hero that we should be or the villain that we become.
Almost like we're destined to become the villain if we don't choose to become the hero.
Exactly. And sometimes we become the villain because we think we're the hero and we do things that we shouldn't be doing.
I need to think on that a minute. I didn't know that was going to hit hard, but damn.
Yeah, because if you let somebody stop you, then you've allowed this person to stop something that's an integral part of you.
Yup. And that goes right along with, like, here on 4 Geeks by Geeks, we always encourage people to geek out loud. Because when you're geeking out loud, it might be the scariest thing you do because you're afraid of that battle without and those around you. But the ironic thing is, once you start leaning into that thing that you love, like you said, the integral part of you, then you find your tribe and you really find yourself.
So I know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to be like, well, but, Ralph, I've already gone down this different path. I've already led this path that is not with what I love. Then I'm going to say, well, see, what happened was, if we go back to the origin story of WrittenWritRalf, WrittenWritRalf came out of college with the nice, beautiful associate's degree in broadcasting. And then the job he was working said, hey, why don't you become full-time here and you can make some money? And I was like, that sounds really good. Full-time job, full-time money. I can make some money and do some stuff. And then 10 years passed.
It's a long time.
I was sitting there and a friend of mine goes, dude, you got an associate's degree in broadcasting. Why didn't you do something with it? And I'm like, dude, it's, that was like 10 years ago. I haven't done anything, and she was like, but here you are now. You're not dead. So why don't you just do something with it? You may have that other job. That doesn't stop you from following your dream.
Talking to you all theater majors that didn't do shit with it.
But as well as I do that you don't have to completely jump into it. You can do other things that are attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people feel like it's all or nothing, and it's not all or nothing. A lot of the comic creators out there, they're creating these comics, and at the same time, they're working their full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that you have to sometimes pay for the dream. Your full-time job helps you pay for your dream.
And here I thought we were only going to talk about writing, but Ralph's over here dropping some like life advice that I didn't know I needed.
Again, there's so much stopping us. There's so much coming on top of us. And again, if we're on the hero's journey, you are going to come across all these things that are going to try to stop you from doing what you want to do or doing what you're supposed to do or fulfilling your destiny, if we're going to go in that direction.
So then what did you do? Like, that friend encouraged you, but like you still faced that fear within.
Oh, definitely.
So like, give us like the hard steps that got you out of that shell and helped you break through that wall of terror, in really wanting to become the fullest version of yourself?
All right, so here's the thing. I always get this question, and it always comes to me. It is, Ralph, how do I become a writer? How you're writing? What do I do? And I go, you write. And then they look at me like I'm gatekeeping and go, look, stop being a motherfucker. And I'm
Great
like,
advice.
no.
Great advice.
Exactly. It's like, no, dude, you need to write. In order to become a writer, you need to write. If you're not writing, then how are you going to become a writer? And it sounds weird when you're thinking about it, but think about it.
It makes
If
sense.
you're not writing, how are you going to become a writer?
Because so many of us want to, like, look at all the books sitting behind you on how to become a writer. We want to make sure that we know that we will be successful before we take our first step. But you cannot be successful until you take that first step.
Bingo. Which is the same thing we were talking about behind the scenes. It's
a whole Geek Out Sesh before the stream.
Oh, definitely. Sometimes what I like to tell people, especially on our show, is like we should record the green room and call it the green room session.
That's on the Patreon.
And that's exactly what it should be.
Yeah.
And you start going to people. Well, you said something in the green room. Give me some money.
You thought that was off stream. Too bad. You're never safe.
So yeah, you can't, until you take that first step, you don't know what you're doing right or wrong. Until you take that first step, you don't know what you're doing right or wrong. This is a first step. It may not look like it, but it's a first step because you're reading all this stuff to become something, which means you're still moving forward. You're still becoming what you want to become. Sometimes the steps are kind of invisible because you don't see them as a movement forward in the direction that you want to go. But all these things together become your journey.
Oh my God, that is like literally my theme for last week. Get out of my damn head, Ralph. Like, I felt like I was taking like steps back in a couple different areas of my life.
Right.
And I had some wise people tell me, no, this is all progress. Like success doesn't come in a straight line.
No.
Growth doesn't come in a straight line. There are ups and downs. The road may wind, but it's all progress. And without those dips, like, what kind of progress is that? It's not like based on anything real. Without that trauma, without the hardship, without the obstacles, and it makes for a really boring story. Like, as a writer, you would like your job as a writer is to put obstacles in front of your character just so we can watch them overcome them, because we want to believe that we too can overcome, right?
Right. That's why some of those characters that we see now don't work, because it's like, oh, I am the hero, and how did you become that hero? I am just the hero. I am the greatest thing in the world. And how did you become that hero who's the greatest thing in the world? I just am what I am. And I'm like, no, you became this way. There was a journey that happened that led you to this point. And I find that a lot of writers now do not give you the journey. They just want you to believe that this person is fantastic.
Why do you think that is? Like, do you find that that's a newer style of writing? Because that's not how it used to be. It's
an old style of writing. It's a simple style of writing, because it's like the bad guy's the bad guy because the bad guy's the bad guy.
Yeah, he's the black hat.
Right. But that's not always the case. Most villains think they're the hero.
Right.
Most villains think they're the hero. They don't know they're the villain. They think they're doing things for the betterment of people. Not all of them, because there's evil people out there and there's evil villains out there. But most villains are trying to accomplish something. They're trying to make something happen, and they kind of get lost in that journey.
Yeah. In my theater, like teaching to like young students, like we're going through like terms, and like the opponent is like, it's in the word. The opponent is simply, their goals are different from the hero's goals.
Right.
But like you said, they believe them to be the best thing for their life. They just aren't exactly in line with the hero, who's like the main character. So they're just labeled as the bad guy. But and villains did things just because they thought they were bad. That makes it also a very uninteresting villain.
Yeah. So that's why you have most villains be a hero who used to be on the journey, and they've kind of lost their way, or they just can't see what they're doing anymore, or they can't see what they're doing being that bad.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, like we might default as our villain selves, but we haven't done the work. We've given up on the idea that we could be better. So we're like, okay, I guess I'm just this shitty person, this villain now.
Because sometimes what happens is you when you give up on that dream, you become this really angry person.
Mm-hmm.
Because you gave up on the dream. You're not doing it. You're not where you want to be. And then what ends up happening is that leads to you either being jealous of other people who are accomplishing things you think you should have accomplished a while ago. See, now we're back down to the why did the villain become a villain? And you're hearing the villain and his thoughts process is like, oh, you think you're special. I'll show you you're not that special. You know, what's the Joker's thing? One bad day? One bad day will lead you to something else. The Joker believed that because it was one bad day that led him to something else, depending on whose secret origin you're looking at. So,
right.
So many Joker origins. But that's the whole thing. That's what he believes. If you look at the Heath Ledger joke, if you look at Heath Ledger's Joker, that's his thought process. Phenomenal. That all you need is to make a person suffer enough, and they're going to become the villain.
I mean, we see it every day. People hurt people. Like, isn't that the phrase? Because we just can't pull ourselves out. Who knew? Oh, God. Again, I guess, like, you can't talk about writing without talking about the human condition. Because,
at all,
like you said, we're all writers. If you just write about what you know, and we're all human.
It all comes back. It'll full circle there. So, you know, we're all writers. We're looking at it. One of the things that happens to me is that I constantly have this thing on where I'm listening to everything around me. It's not on purpose. I'm not overhearing people. It's just something that happens because you know, it's life is happening. Life is all around you.
All around you.
What happens is that we tend to block it out. We come into ourselves and we block out everything else. But if I'm sitting on the train, you're going to listen to the person across the train, and they got this story happening. They're on the phone and they're crying to somebody because they can't pay the rent. They don't know what they're going to do. They're going to be thrown out of their house. There's a story already. Yeah. You know, this character is going through this stuff, and as writers, we're writing the human condition. Whether
it's any genre, it's just the human condition in these imaginary circumstances.
Exactly. You know, it's in a fantasy world, and they're dealing with they're going hungry. They don't have any food. They're going to lose their house. Their country has been taken over by these malevolent forces who's keeping them down.
It doesn't matter if it's in a modern day fantasy, sci-fi. That's something that we can all understand.
Exactly. You know, because these problems are the problems we have. What writers do is they take their life, usually. As you can see, they're always listening, so they'll take other stuff as well. But what we do is we take our own life and we dissect our lives, and we use those bits and pieces for stories. So most of the characters I write have a bit of myself in them. You know, and at the same time, they have a bit of other people.
Right. But there's no way to completely remove yourself from all the characters you're writing.
No.
They're just like pieces of you and all of our personalities and people that you've collected while paying attention to the rest of the world.
Exactly. One of my favorite things to say is don't piss off a writer, because then that writer will kill you many times.
You can die but once, but a writer can kill you many times.
Yeah. And I've had people that I've killed over and over and over in my stories. I'm like, I don't like you.
All those kids that beat up on you as a kid, they're dead to you and dead to you and dead to you and dead to you.
It's so funny because they always say, why were all these bully stories so prevalent in the 80s? But that's because that's what we were going through.
Right. Yeah, now bullying looks a lot different.
Oh, definitely. No, they couldn't be that horrible. Yes, they were that horrible because you weren't doing it behind the screen. You weren't being the bully behind the screen. You were being a bully in person.
With your fist. So what kind of things is the written Ralph? Nope, still messed it up. I'm Scholarly Ralph. What kind of things are you writing, Ralph? What can we get excited about that you're writing?
I'm actually right now. I'm in a because I've been having fun on the show because like I'm like I'm not gonna publish because I want to keep writing. And if you go to publish, then you spend all this time publishing because it's a whole other job. You know, if you're publishing, you're not writing because you're publishing or you're trying to get your book to become something. Or because there's all this stuff that comes with publishing. You know, you gotta be the guy who does the commercials for it. You gotta be the guy who puts it out there. If you're lucky, somebody else will come in and go, "We're gonna publish your book for you." That's not usually the case for everybody. And what ends up happening is you gotta do all that stuff yourself. So that means that you're not gonna be doing something else because you wear many hats.
Right. You can't spend the time writing and just being creative because now you're a marketer.
Exactly. So what's been happening recently is I got together with the guys from We Suck at Comics. You know, it's an anthology series that's happening right now. It's on Kickstarter right now. And I've been going, if you ever wanted to get a WrittenWritRalf piece, go to We Suck at Comics, because we do. And right there, you will get a chance to get a published piece of WrittenWritRalf. My first published piece will be in We Suck at Comics. You know, and because they're helping me out and taking care of all that, so I don't have to.
And so you can just be creative.
Exactly.
We suck. I'm Googling this. We Suck at Comics Kickstarter.
Yep.
Okay, tell us more about this Kickstarter. Tell us more about this Kickstarter.
It is an anthology series. It's called Coloring Outside the Lines. All these stories are kind of outside of the lines. Like my story is based on the Taínos gods who are having a war, and this girl is stuck in between.
Okay, here for it.
Yeah. So, you know, these Taino girls are all doing their thing, and now this girl is finding out that these gods are doing these things, and all this stuff has been happening in the shadows and behind everything, because, you know, right now the gods are all not in hiding, but they're not as present as they used to be.
Interesting.
Which is what I feel is happening right now in our world. The gods are all there going.
Honestly, they are just like on a vacation. They've abandoned us.
I don't even think they abandoned us. They go, well, they think they can live without us. Okay.
Ooh, there's a take. Like, sure, let's see what happens.
Go ahead, live without us.
So then, how close is this Kickstarter being funded, and how can FGBG community support it?
I think the last time I checked it, it was at 5,100. They're trying to get to 7,200. Yeah, because it's a piece with a lot of people involved in it. So, you know, the book's a big book. Yeah, it's a lot of stories. When you get this book, you're getting a lot of stuff. You're not just getting my little story. You're getting a bunch of different stories from a bunch of different creators. I love when anthology series has happened because, you know, now it gives people a chance, like myself, who probably wouldn't publish, to get their stuff out there. My story is a prose story. So they have prose and comic book pieces in this anthology.
Well, good news. I don't know if you're aware of this. They had a 5,500 goal, and they've raised $7,720.
It has to be the first one.
It's not. I'm looking at it.
No, because the goal is 7,200. They should still be at 5,100.
It says pledged $7,720 pledged of the $5,500 goal.
Yeah, that sounds wrong.
I think it got funded.
I think
we're getting a WrittenWritRalf comic.
Let's go to the videotape. Hold on a second.
You check it.
We'll go over here to Kickstarter. And can you tell that I'm good at doing this on the show?
Right. All right. Unless it's another one. Maybe they have
two issues.
Oh, because actually this is from 2022.
There you go. That's the first issue.
Okay. Well, Boser sucks. Oh, Coloring Outside the Lines. I see it now. I see it.
Right.
Yep. $5,558 pledged of $7,200 goal.
There you go.
Don't fight your guests. Number one, don't disagree. They are right. The guest is always right. Do you do your own research? Do you research live, DSP? Yes, I do. And do I do it wrong? Yes, I do.
Dude, this is the hardest thing to do. Is what we're doing right now is researching while we're talking to the guest, because especially him, he has to do more than I'm doing. I can easily pay attention to something else, because then he's gonna pick up the slack because I'm not talking.
Is that why my shoulder hurts from carrying the stream?
Yeah, because you guys are the hosts. You guys do a great job, and like I told you in the green room, you've done that step that most people haven't done. You're already doing the show. So that means that you know what's going on, you know how to move it forward, and you know what you shouldn't do and what you should do.
Well, I know of some things I shouldn't do. The rest, I'm going to learn what I shouldn't do live, like research the wrong link.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And folks, I got to tell you, if you don't like research, then writing's not for you.
Well, that's why I'm not a writer, sir.
I know, it's not to be like you're a writer.
No, but I almost told you this story in the green room. Like, people are like, "Oh, I don't think that I have the right camera." Like, if they always want to be streamers or YouTubers, you know. I don't have the right camera. I don't have the right mic. I don't have the right setup. Blah blah blah. And our first show was on an iPhone taped to a selfie stick, stuck in a wine bottle in my kitchen.
Right.
And it was very not great. But we're like, oh, this is we could up level from this. Of course, no one was watching back then. Not that anyone's watching now. Just kidding. You're watching. I'm not gonna yuck on your yum. Stop. But it was fun. It's just like the Wild West of like figuring out your shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so
what people got to do. do.
So what was the first thing when you're like, I know you started writing young. What was the first thing you wrote that looking back on you would hate now?
That first detective story with my little character, because it was as everything else, because you're influenced by everything. As writers, what ends up happening is your style is developed from all the stuff that you've digested. Mm-hmm. You know, you see all these people that you've read from. You know, I was very heavily influenced by, of course, Encyclopedia Brown. Then that led me to Sherlock Holmes at a very young age. So Sherlock Holmes was something to digest at that age, where it took you into a whole different direction. And then I have to say that comic books really helped me out, because I was reading Fantastic Four, and the Fantastic Four was like nuclear process, and you're like, what are they talking about? Which led me to having to go research or check out those words, and that led to more and more things.
Oh my God. If you want to learn some new words, you guys, kids at home, pick up some, we'll call them older comics.
Exactly.
Like the words that just pumped full of every panel. Like, I don't even know what they're saying. You're going to make me look shit up. Okay. I guess I have to get smarter.
Because back then, comics were for everybody. It wasn't this, you need the kids' comics, and you need the adult comics, and there were certain books you shouldn't be reading, but at the same time, they had a code they had to follow, because they knew there was kids reading these books. So the books became for adult to kid.
And where does your writing fall in that?
My writing is a mixture of comic books, detective stories, D&D, Vampire the Masquerade. I say I have a very noir type of writing.
I didn't get that vibe from you. No, not at all. Not at all.
If you read my stuff, you'll find this voice.
Does it sound like this?
Oh, it's just, it sounds like Ryan Reynolds.
Ooh, okay.
Constantly talking in my head, and he won't shut up.
Man, crush your mind. So great, I'm here for it.
Or if you want to go back to one of those old detective movies, and that voice that's narrating the movie, that's exactly what it sounds like. The voice in my head sounds like.
I am frozen.
Went to the store, and then
coming back. Nope. Ooh. This is what you get now. Just me, very contemplatively staring at your face.
You look so intrigued.
I am very intrigued. Can't you tell? I can even throw my voice without moving my lips.
That is, dude. This is live TV, folks. People go,
Yeah.
"Why are you saying TV?" Because it is. It's the same. It's still TV, folks. It's not just that it's on your computer.
And we're blessed because technical difficulties is merch of ours for a reason, because we tend to run into it more often than not.
Boy,
And we've had a great dry spell of technical difficulties until today.
I got to tell you, we've had some technical difficulties on the show. I've been thrown off my own show. And
The
then
internet says, "You suck, get out."
and then the guests have to like deal with themselves, which is one of the reasons why I have co-hosts, because I realized that if I get thrown off because my computer decided they didn't want to play with me, somebody needs to keep talking.
Yep. And in this case, very serious Boser is going to keep talking for me while I do a bunch of clicking in the background to figure out what the hell is going on. But
Well, the good thing is I have a lot to say, so I'll just keep going in that direction because you asked a question and I'm going to lead you down that journey.
lead me.
So it's funny that you said that whole thing about the encyclopedia, no, what it was, the dictionary and the
Okay.
word.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I do is I'll go into the dictionary or dictionary.com, which is what I used to do, especially when I was doing the shows pre-recorded, and I'll take the word of the day, the dictionary.com word of the day, and then I'll write a story with that word. Because
As like a writing prompt.
exactly, as a writing prompt. Because I do writing prompts and I do words and I do and then what I started to do was, because I love the challenge, I'll tell people, all right, folks, you challenge me. What do you want me to write about? Throw me some stuff and I'll put it together into a story, which I started to do. And all this stuff has helped me become a better writer.
But in what way? Because like as the non-writer, I guess
Right.
I would consider myself a non-writer, but you at the start of the stream called bullshit and you're like, no, we're all writers.
Everybody's a writer. It all depends on what level of writing you are.
But to become a writer, you have to write, and I'm not writing. So by
You're
that
writing.
definition, I'm going to say I'm not a writer.
You're
Like,
writing.
These prompts, I don't understand how they like intangible ways are making you a better writer. So help
All
me.
right, so give me a word.
Flabbergasted.
I love that word. Probably can't say it, but here we go. So what ends up happening is you go flabbergasted. So my brain goes, okay, flabbergasted. Well, Ralph, you like that word. That's a great word. I was flabbergasted by the fact that he decided to give me this word. And I had heard this word many a times before. Now, did he know that I like that word flabbergasted? Was he giving me this word because he had decided that he knew that WrittenWritRalf would go in the direction of going flabbergasted? That would give me a great story. Or was this the word that he was just taking out of his head and turning into this thing, or the stream of thoughts that he was putting together into a story? And that's just the basic story. That's not even going into turning it into anything else. That's just what's happening at the moment, and you're taking it and you're making it into a story. That's writing.
That was like a stream of consciousness almost.
Yeah, which is what happens when I get stuff like that. I get a stream of consciousness, and then I go, so you can go this direction, you can go that direction. I just went with it out loud so you guys can see what was going on. Because right now there's 3 other stories forming because of flabbergasted.
And so really they're to give you like a direction to go to.
Oh yeah, because it's great to have directions to move forward, to move around, to figure out what you're doing. I can do without the direction, but I find that the direction is fun. It's something that gives me a way to go, a way to have fun, a way to do an exercise, in other words, to get the writer and thoughts flowing. He's back!
I'm back. I'm impressed that I did all of that without actually closing the stream. So
I'm totally impressed.
that's a win. I'm gonna take it.
And then it was funny because you will get little glimpses of you, and you were like,
It's like sweating. I get a fire extinguisher. My house is on fire.
So I use that to show people that writing isn't that difficult.
You just have to start.
Yeah, which is exactly what that is. That's starting, because it wasn't completely a story, but it was a story because it came in the form of a story.
And it's almost like enough just to convince yourself that you can get started, as if we are the main obstacle in getting in our own way.
Yeah, because we are. Because even if you're a bad writer, you wouldn't know you're a bad writer because you didn't write.
But for me, that's the only way that I gain confidence in anything is just trying it out,
Yeah.
literally failing on my face, and then now I know what to do in the future. And I've learned this about myself in a way that I just know that's how I learn.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn. It's that way we learned as kids. We do something, it either works or it doesn't work, or we get hurt, and we learn the lesson.
Yeah, but you have to get hurt.
Yeah. Most people are afraid to get hurt, whether it's life,
because it hurts.
Relationships. Yeah. Of course the past hurts. What's in the past?
Thank you, Rafiki.
One of my favorite lines of all time, and it's in a freaking cartoon.
Same. Like, I almost get choked up at that point every time.
Oh, definitely, every time.
It's like, why do you know me so well, Rafiki? Talking to me. So then what do you say to those people that, like you talked about, that you don't often publish your things? Have you ever published anything?
Well, right now in recent comics, you got that first thing we're publishing. I can't say that I haven't shared my stuff, because I have. I've done it on the show, especially if you go back and you watch the early episodes of the Written Writ. You'll see pieces of stories that I actually like to verbalize. So I like to tell a story. Yeah. So I will read something that I've done, and I share it with the audience. And then when I started off, I would put all my story bits on Tumblr, because when we first started, Tumblr was still a thing, and it was dranix.tumblr.com. I remember. Yeah. If you go back to dranix.tumblr.com, you'll see some of the early writings of WrittenWritRalf.
But so what do you say to that person, whether they're saying it to you or they're saying it to themselves, is I haven't published anything, I'm not a real writer?
No. Writing makes you a writer. And it doesn't matter what you're writing, that makes you a writer. And a couple of writers will be pissed off at me when I say this. That's why I said you're not writing, but you're writing, so you're still a writer.
That takes all the gatekeeping out of it.
Right.
It's like this weird, I don't know, it's like chain that we put on ourselves in saying that we can only grasp the title of what we want to be when it's to a mass audience, when it's like loved by somebody outside of ourselves.
Everything has levels. You're writing, then you are a published writer, an author, or whatever else you become as you move up the scale of writing. If you're writing, you're still a writer. It's just that you haven't published your stuff. If you have published stuff, you're a published writer.
That is honestly, that somebody needs to hear that today.
Yeah.
Whether it is about writing, whether it's about their art, whether it's about their cosplay, whether it's about streaming to nobody, whether it's about whatever, because we tend to put this limits on ourselves that until like we're doing it professionally or everyone loves it, that it doesn't count.
And I've seen it with cosplayers, and I've seen it with people that do what we do. I know a story of a cosplayer who was just putting stuff together because she was good at fashion. So she would put pieces together and make a costume out of that. So it was pieces of clothing put together to make her costume. And it was like, but I'm not making it myself, Ralph. I'm like, yeah, but you put this together to make it happen. Even if you bought your costume and you're out there, you're still cosplaying. It's just that you're not cosplaying at the level other people are cosplaying. They're a higher point of cosplaying. But then you have professional cosplayers. But those professional cosplayers can be one or two things. They can be a person who is just a professional cosplayer who goes out there with these outfits. They're not making it, but they're out there and they're doing their thing. Or you have these guys who make their own costumes and are cosplaying and are out there. Then you have costume designers who are designing these costumes for cosplayers. Yeah.
And nowadays, in a way that I don't think has reached the writing community, correct me if I'm wrong, but cosplayers have learned that, like, you're a closet cosplayer, right, or you're a crafter, foam crafter, or you're like literally a Spirit Halloween cosplayer.
Yeah.
But rather than putting them in tiers where one is higher than the other, they're just different categories depending on what you love or what you are trying to get out of it. And I don't think that has come into writing because, like I said, like you're a writer. Great. So what have you published? No, that's a published writer. That's a different category of writer. I'm still a writer.
Right.
Why is that? Is that just because it's
you have
older?
gatekeepers and everything? Even in the cosplay community,
Oh,
you have people that they're like, oh, you just bought your costume.
And I'm wearing it. I'm enjoying it. And
yeah. So again, it's the whole thing to not listen to these voices. Don't let them stop you. Do what you want to do. Do what you love. If you love doing it, then do it. Don't let these people stop you. Are you doing it for them or are you doing it for you?
There it is.
And then the first question that I always like to give writers is, why are you writing? What's the reason you're writing? Are you writing to make money? That's a whole different type of writer. Are you writing to be published? That's a whole different type of writer. Are you writing to get your stories out of you? That's a whole different type of writer. Why are you writing? What's the reason you are writing? And what are you writing?
Because that's going to change your motivation.
Yeah.
Like if you are really passionate about your story, then you can get it out there.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to make money, then you're going to probably have to change a lot of things about your story.
Oh, definitely.
And if that's your main motivation, then maybe that shouldn't be your goal.
Right. I write for myself. I don't write for anybody else. I will listen to somebody who tells me something. If I give you something to read and you give me some bits and pieces on it, I'll listen to you. But I'm writing to entertain myself.
So then I think it's easier to answer this question if I was like trying to make money writing or trying to please an audience.
Yeah.
But where do you draw success after you write something, knowing that like you've grown, whether you've like hit the mark, when you're really by that definition only trying to please one person?
Which is funny because you figure it's easier, but it's not easier because I will sit there and go, this is bullshit. And I'll say that more often than not. And then I realize that if I like something, more often than not, other people won't like it.
Why is that?
Don't know.
Because they're not your audience.
I can't tell you why, because I'll sit here and I'll try to figure it out. But I've seen it where I love this story. I love what I just did here. I love how I wrote it. I love how it came out. Then somebody reads it and they go, eh.
But that's not your audience, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. Then there's times where I'll write something and I'm like, this is crap. And then somebody reads it and they go, oh my God, Ralph, this is the best thing you've ever written.
But that doesn't matter because that's not your audience.
To me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but it's so funny to them because they're like, because to me, it's just like, what?
Okay, well, I heard two things. One, where did you find this awareness about your own skills? Because oftentimes we get stuck in an echo chamber.
Oh, definitely.
If we like what we did, then sometimes it can be like, great, I did it. It's good. But you have the wherewithal to look at it, knowing your skills, and call it bullshit. How did you develop that?
I think, again, it's because I'm writing for me. Because, in other words, if I'm entertained by it, if I liked it, then to me, it's like, okay, cool. Even my stuff that I wouldn't think was the best stuff, it has its own thing. I'm not going to say it's totally sucky. It's just I didn't like the way it came out.
Yeah. But that's a rare skill I'm finding. Like the self-awareness to be able to look at your work and decide whether it is your best or whether it's bullshit.
Because it goes back to that question again. Why are you writing? Because if I'm writing because I want to see the story put out there on paper, out of me, then the success is it's on paper and it's out of me. So is that because the definition of why are you writing is it's out of me.
Almost like a sickness that you just have to puke out in order.
Yeah, because there's too many of them in there.
Yeah, does it like keep you up at night? Do you just constantly have ideas?
Dude, and most people tell me, what narrator voice? I'm like, the voice is always telling you what's going on. It's in your head, and people go, I don't know what you're talking about, Ralph. I'm like, okay.
So how do you develop that for the person listening or watching back or in the chat?
You can develop it. You can develop your narrator voice, the ones that explains what's going on. I feel like for other people it's a little different because it's something you create into yourself. It's your writing voice, and everybody gets their writing voice at one point or another. As long as you're moving your writing forward, your voice will become apparent.
But you have to start.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with a writing voice, which is where it goes back to the beginning where we had this conversation and that journey to become a writer. The journey to become a writer is to find that voice of yours that makes your writing your writing.
How do you know when you found it?
Oh, you'll know. It's a voice. It's unique. It talks to you. You'll know your voice. And it's one of those questions. And I think that's why when you read these writing books, it's hard for them to tell you about that voice, because I've seen them try to explain the writer's voice. And it's not an easy explanation, because this voice
It's a
is
theory.
the voice where everything comes out of you. And we know this voice because we'll pick up a writer and we're like, oh, this is so and so, because you know that writer's voice.
Sure. Yeah. Does asking for a friend, does this apply to like your real life voice, like having that little Jiminy Cricket inside that you know is true, that you can trust?
Yeah, because they don't lead you wrong. The other voice leads you wrong, but they don't lead you wrong. They're always looking out for you. They're always looking out for your best interest.
See, now I'm just using this as free therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've often not trusted my own, we'll call it a writer's voice, where I often need that validation from other people. I got to process out loud and talk things out and hear almost that same voice that I heard kind of, but from somebody else to then validate my own voice.
For validation. Because most of the times we know, as soon as the voice says it, we know. It's just that we don't want to do it.
Or you don't trust it.
Completely.
Like, how did you learn to trust that voice?
He's don't shut up. He's constantly going.
So you just fucking listen.
After a while, you have to listen because they won't shut up. and I'm not perfect, because there's times where I won't listen, and
sure.
and you'll be there going, "Fuck, I should have listened to the voice."
Yeah.
Some people will call their voice, or the voice of God, or the voice of somebody who's looking out for you, or the voice. There's a voice. It's always there. Some people can hear it better than other people,
because they probably learned to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you listen to it, the louder it gets.
Well, think about it. As a society, we're told not to listen to that voice.
We are.
Yeah. Because you don't listen to those voices.
Okay, now we're getting real. So I grew up in a super religious background, and so I almost knew that as soon as you said that, because we were taught growing up, it's not our voice, it's not our will, but thine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't, whatever that instinct is, and it was like beaten out of us.
Yeah.
That inner voice, that instinct, that is not the way. You have to lean into this other voice, and it kind of crippled my ability. I'm learning this in real time right now. It crippled my ability to trust that voice in me. Because I thought we were talking about writing. God damn it.
It's all related. It all comes full circle.
It is.
Because then now you're talking about this, right? So what happens is, as a person who's been raised the same way, you're told not to question.
Yep. And
the voice tells you to question everything.
And it's completely antithetical to, that's not the word, antithetical, thank you, to like that core worldview.
Yeah.
So then how did you pull yourself out of that? Because I'm sure that whether it was religion, whether it was a parent or a friend or something, so many people in this life have a voice that is conflicting against their inner voice. How do you fight through that?
Well, again, the journey is always there, depending on what you're doing. So I did the same thing with religion. I had a journey. I decided I'm going to go find the truth. I'm going to go find the truth. And I went to all the different religions that I can find. and I sat through them and I figured out, is this for me or is this not for me?
Mm-hmm.
And each one taught me something.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I ended up at the end, I was like, well, I'm going to stay here, but that's not everything I believe. I've already decided this is what I believe.
You allowed yourself to have a unique view
Mm-hmm.
that didn't
Yeah.
have to fit into a pre-built structure.
Right.
That takes courage, dude.
It also helps that for a while there I was like, I'm going to be a priest, and then I went through that whole thing, and I came on the other side and I was like, I like women, so that wasn't going to work.
Okay, not that kind of priest. I give really strong youth pastor vibes. I don't know if you can tell.
I was going to be a Catholic priest.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a commitment.
Yeah. See, so if you do that, you can't enjoy women, and I was like, I like women. So I was like, oh, let's not go in that direction.
Not for me, dog.
But when I was in there, I learned a lot of things that kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things, because I find that most people in their religion don't know their religion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they sit there and not knowing their religion, and it's easier for other people to control you if you don't know what your religion is.
Yeah, because it's just believing in something blindly.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't created a voice to listen to, and it's just never going to resonate. It's never going to be pure and strong. It's always going to be shifting.
And I think on top of that, at an early age, I was really young, I ended up running into Joseph Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Hero's Journey.
Okay.
So I was watching Channel 13 as I did as a kid, because I was a geek, I was a nerd. And this comes on, and there's a whole interview that they did with him about the hero's journey, about all that. And it really resonated with me. And that was me really young, because I was in the 80s and I was still in junior high.
Okay.
Yeah. And that resonated with me. And Joseph Campbell leads me to Carl Jung. And these are two heavy names, because Carl Jung is the man who makes you try to figure out your own psyche.
At middle school, you were working on this?
Oh, yeah. Joseph led to Carl.
I'm just picturing, so I also work for a school now, and part of it's a middle school. I'm imagining any of those children these days figuring out their own psyche, and I'd be terrified to find what they discover, what they lock in on. But you did it.
Everything, again, that's why I believe in the journey. I believe in the hero's journey. I believe everything has its journey, because I have this journey of self-discovery that's led me through everything. One thing led to the other thing, led to the other thing. It's you end up with the detectives, Encyclopedia Brown, Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is heavy stuff for a kid to understand. Yep. And then Sherlock Holmes kind of teaches you something that all those other things kind of follow. Sherlock Holmes sits there and he can realize what's going on just by paying attention.
Yeah.
He has these deductive reasoning that's uncanny. And he's able to see all this stuff because he's looking at the bigger picture. So that leads to Joseph Campbell, who's talking about very similar things, and how story is created, how story comes to be, how all these stories have been around for ages, and that we're just telling our version of stories that have already been told. And then he starts talking about the fact that Carl Jung was talking about how we see ourselves, who we are, the inner beings, all the bits and pieces. And that leads to me going, all right, so what is religion? Where do I go with this? What do I believe? Because, I have a problem with authority, unless you haven't figured it out yet. I have a problem with authority.
Not at all. No, I thought you just were blind.
I hate being told what to do, and I hate being told what to believe.
And I was going to say most people do, but that's not true.
No,
That's just not true. There's so many
most
people
people
that
want to be told what to do and want to be told what to believe. It's safe. It's easier.
it's easy. It's so
Yeah.
much easier. It's
Mhm.
it's less terrifying because it is
Oh, definitely.
terrifying once you like break out of that shell and you decide, what do I believe? Like you have to look for yourself.
Yeah.
And that takes work and research.
Yeah.
Live on stream.
Research.
Yeah.
We go back to it. Research. And I've been researching all my life.
So for those that maybe just jumped into the chat, take those deep thoughts about those heavy hitters in the writing field and the human psyche, put them into writing.
Well, that's easy because Carl Jung, when he's talking about story and the way story is, which is what led me to like him so much because I already liked stories at that point.
Yeah.
He's talking about the breakdown of stories and what makes stories what they are. Even George Lucas uses the hero's journey on the original Star Wars.
I have heard this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are these the kind of deep talks that people can find on Bit and Apple TV?
Oh, definitely. We go through all over the place. You notice the Geek Out we did today? That's usually the Geek Out that happens on the show, whether I want it to or not.
And I kind of get that because that's just who you are. That's like
Yeah.
what's going through your mind all the time.
So here's the thing. I like I told you, I have this thing in my head that is always questioning things.
Yeah.
And you tell me something, then I have a question. You'll say something, then I have another question.
Uh-huh.
So there's always a question in my head. Now the question is, do I say the question or do I not say the question? So there's always something to talk about.
Right.
Like you guys, same thing. It's a conversation. So in my head, there's always a next piece of that conversation.
Which just makes you a really great interviewer.
I appreciate that.
Like it's the people, your guests always feel like they are valued, they are heard, they are interesting.
Yeah.
And isn't that what we all want? Is just to like have
definitely.
someone listen to us.
Mhm.
Okay,
And
so
you go down to the basics of why we started Bit and Apple TV. I sat there doing this stuff for somebody else, and we were covering media stuff. I'm like, these guys already have press.
Yeah.
These guys are already getting, everybody and their mother is going to come here and talk to this person because they want to know what's going on and they want to share the news. And some people want to get more followers because they're sharing this news. And I kept watching, especially when we were in the conventions. I kept looking, and I would find these interesting people with these interesting projects in the convention, and nobody was talking to them. And I'm like, we need to talk to them. We need to get their passion out there.
yeah.
We need to see what they want to do and what they're doing, and share it with everybody so that somebody can see these people. And that's what Bit and Apple is.
That's what FGBG is. I think we just merged channels. Can we make that Bit and Apple TV this network that you dreamed it to be, and just make one of us the channels?
That's how we started out to be. It would have been different shows on the Bit and Apple TV. Because even right now with because we have Apple Bites on Monday at 7:30, and then we have the Written Writ on Wednesday at 10:30. In the beginning, it was two different shows. Now it's just me because my partner got busy and they're somewhere else. But the shows had two different feels. Now it's they both have about the same feel because it's just us geeking out, talking about things. But it's always about the creative process.
And oftentimes the guests here, it is always in the geek scene, but we always get down to it. Like it's always the creative process. Because for me, that is what's so interesting to me. Like
that's what connects us all. Even if our creative process is for different things, it's still the creative process.
And strangely enough, I hear the same things here week after week, week after week. And hopefully all of you that are watching back or live here in the chat, you're hearing the same things. And it's just like that picking away at whatever's keeping you from pursuing your passion to believe, yes, I can. I just need to get started. I'm allowed to fail forward. I should fail forward. It's a requirement of the hero's journey is to fail forward.
Yeah. And there's always someone trying to stop you. There's always something trying to stop you. You have a villain out there that wants you not to do what you do. Well, that wants you not to think for yourself. Don't allow them the power over you so that you stop thinking for yourself.
And for probably more often than not, that villain lives right here.
Yeah, he's there too. He's out there, he's in there. That's what makes it worse because you have them out here already. And then the other one in here has more control over you because that's the one that's going to tell you, well, let's listen to this guy over here.
Well, DSB spoke for all of us. Hello, therapist. I'm canceling my meeting this week because I'm.
Dude, it is so funny because I was raised a certain way. Everything leads to each thing. And, I credit myself with Mr. Rogers and, Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung and Reading Rainbow. And all these things opened my mind. And it's so funny because it's all things that they say don't work and they've moved away from. They said that these things don't help you out. Yet they all helped me become who I am. And each person is different, but this is what's made me who I am.
80s television.
Completely. DuckTales.
Don't get me started. Did you watch Street Sharks?
Yep. I remember Street Sharks.
Yes. Yes. That's always the one I'm like, okay, if you're really my people, have you seen Street Sharks?
That's because most people go Street Sharks. What are you talking about?
I'm like, that's all right. That's all right. You can work up to being my people, but Ralph, you're my people. You're my guy.
I knew as soon as I was watching you guys, because we do research, folks. So as soon as I was researching you guys, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, we knew it.
And then Drew was like, dude, I told him all about you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Like, I guess
he's a great guy.
Interview him. He'll be okay. But no, Drew's great. He is a really voice box for this community.
Yeah, he is.
This isn't his Geek Out Sesh. He's had a couple, but he gets this free shout out. He's always just trying to connect all of us because we need this. We require this.
Dude, I always say my life is like Final Fantasy. I gather my party as I go, and they all have a purpose that they will be fulfilling at some point or another. And I find that Drew is one of those people because he's just such a nice guy, and he has heart.
A huge one.
Yeah.
It's also because he's a pretty beefy dude. So I hope his heart is big enough to handle all those muscles.
And all those role-playing things that he's creating are going to come and kill us.
Yeah, he can't stop. He's a beast. And it sounds like neither can you. Like, even if you didn't have a platform to share this content, you would still be making it because you can't stop.
I can't stop. Even when I was, even during those 10 years, I was still writing.
Yeah.
Writing has never stopped. I've never stopped writing.
And you've never stopped leveling up because of it. Yeah.
And that's why I tell people, you just got to keep writing. And they're like, oh, but I'm not doing anything with my writing. You may not be doing anything with your writing right now, but if you're looking for that dream, then all this stuff that you're doing will all add up, and it'll give you some experience points to level up at a certain point or another.
And that goes back to that thing that you said earlier. It just depends on why you are writing.
Boom. First question, why am I writing? And that's one of the first shows that I did when I was doing the pre-recorded stuff. It's like, okay, we got to go to this. Why are you writing? And then there's a whole series that I put together after that on all the writing bits and pieces that that we ask ourselves and that we do. And there were a lot of stuff that I was doing myself when I took that first journey.
So beyond just your fact of the creativity can't stop within that amazing brain of yours, why do you feel it's important to create this space through the Written Writ and Bit and Apple TV for people to come to and level up their writing? Why does this matter?
Again, I feel like we need to take this journey. We need to take I call it the journey to become a better writer, but it's a journey to become a better person, a better creator. It's if we lock this piece of ourselves up, it kind of messes us up because now there's a piece of yourself that is not allowing you to be yourself.
Huh. I was not ready for this on a Tuesday night, Ralph. You should have warned me.
I don't know where the stream of thought's gonna go.
Your pre-stream Google form did not prepare me for this level of therapy. But damn,
dude, I don't blame you because as I did the promo for this show, when I first started doing this show, the Written Writ, I was doing it in a different way. I was being really entertaining. I was just having fun. I love Robin Williams, so I was being my own Robin Williams.
Only celebrity I've ever cried for.
Exactly, and I was being my own character, and I was doing my own thing, and that's where the Macho Man comes from. Because I went through a couple of episodes, and I got to the Macho Man episode, which I told the story to everybody. Got to the Macho Man episode. I did the Macho Man episode. I felt good about the Macho Man episode when I finished. Then I went back and watched it, and I'm like, ooh, I think I went too far. and if you guys go back and you go watch the Macho Man episode with the cream of the crop, you'll see what I'm talking about.
The real ones.
Because the episode was about writing characters.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you got to become the character to write the character.
Yeah, you have to find their voice.
Yeah.
Which probably sounds a little bit like yours or a piece of yours.
A little bit. But it's always different.
Ourselves.
Yeah.
No, this whole time I keep getting reminded of like my all-time favorite quote by Henry Thoreau, which is ask not what the world needs, because ask what makes you come fully alive. Because what the world needs is men who have come fully alive.
Yeah. Which reminds me of, not every man lives, but every man dies. Braveheart.
Yep.
Not every man truly lives. Because we don't. We live this life and we were dead all the way through, and then we die. Because we don't allow ourselves to be alive.
It's so strange. Like, we've been doing the show for like this. We're coming up on 6 years of Geek Out, of FGBG.
Mm-hmm.
And still, it always hits so hard when a guest basically echoes our mission here, which is like lean into your passion, just become who you are, unabashedly ashamed. Because it's so easy how quickly we forget that.
Oh, we do right away, because we allow the voices from outside to convolute the voices from inside.
Yeah.
And I'll constantly get Ralph's, but Bitten Apple TV this and Bitten Apple TV that. If you concentrated more on this, then you guys would have more following and more viewers and more. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I'm about. I'm about the geek. I have a lot of interests. My show is about a lot of interests because I have a lot of interests.
Yeah.
I don't have one interest. I like to write, but that's not who I am. I am a multiple bunch of things that create Ralph.
Yeah. Niche down, they say.
Yeah.
Focus in, they say.
All the time.
And I'm like, no, that's not what this is. It's not what we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you're limiting, like for me, I'd be limiting myself from so many amazing people that I just get the opportunity to learn from, to hear their perspective. And that is my why. I've always said, I just have the show because I want to make new friends.
Exactly. And then what you find out, and I know you found this out as well, is even though these people are on different places and different platforms and different things, and they're doing different things and they're being creative in different ways, they're all being creative the same way, which sounds weird.
It's that creative process. It just looks differently, but it's the same.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody watching at home or listening takes something away, because we were talking so much about writing today, but you heard it completely expanded way past that. And you can apply that to everything that you're doing, because I know that you heard something tonight that made you think of that thing that you are not pursuing, or that even piece of you, a personality trait that you're not leaning into, even though it's been screaming in your ear your whole life, because you cannot create truthfully until you're truthful with yourself.
Exactly. And the last thing I'll leave you with is just because you haven't accomplished what you're trying to accomplish doesn't mean you should stop. It just means that you need more time on the road. It's
a journey.
I've been working on my comic book for a long time now, but it's a process. And you got to pay people, you got to do this, you got to do that. So there's a lot of things that come into making it happen. Have I stopped trying to make it happen? Nope. Will I stop trying to make it happen? Nope. That comic book will come to be whether it kills me or not.
And it'll come to be when it's meant to.
Exactly.
Because it's a journey.
Exactly.
It's a journey, you guys.
Life is a journey, not a destination.
Who said that? Elmo.
He probably did say it.
I'm sure he did.
Which it sounds even better coming from him.
Life's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. Hubba hubba.
Dude, Ralph, I have to say that this has been an absolute pleasure just to speak with you, pick your brain, hear so many things that I didn't know I needed to hear today. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And so thank you so much for doing what you're doing, because it made a personal difference for me in one sitting. So think of the countless people that have seen your content and just got to hear your thoughts and gained something from them. And final question that I have for you is, when people come, like, witness your content or come in contact with you, what are you hoping that they walk away with?
That they should go and follow their dreams. That they know there's a place for them out there. Like Mr. Rogers says, be yourself. Live your emotions. They are important. They are meant to be. Don't stuff all this stuff inside of you, because you are important. You are valued. And I feel like we tend to unvalue ourselves when the world's already unvaluing us.
Oof. And just like we had midstream, we're going to have another technical difficulty right at the end. This is why you don't.
I just thought you were being really like, oh my God, he's really sticking that. Oh.
You broke me. You broke me all the ways. This is why you don't update your computer, guys. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
That's a funny story. I just updated my computer like a little while ago, and I ended up going back to the old computer because my new computer lost its speakers completely for like a couple days.
Yeah, okay, we're back. See, I did learn something along this journey.
That was pretty quick.
On how to fix the issue and where the issue was. So that's good. You guys, if you came in late, you have to go back, listen to this whole thing, watch this whole thing. It'll be live tomorrow on YouTube and podcasts. And if you are watching, then comment below on what you gained from this, because I know you gained something from this. And then while you're down there in the comments, scroll a little further. Check out his links. You can find it here in the Twitch chat by using command WrittenWrit. You can go right to their YouTube. Go subscribe, because I have a feeling that even if you don't consider yourself a writer, you're wrong, according to Ralph. You can gain something from this, because it's all the creative process. It's all related. No matter what you're trying to create, all of us are creating something. It's the human condition. We can't help it. You're creating something. So just take that first step. Do it. You're going to suck. Doesn't matter. Keep going, because you're always leveling up.
I always tell people, go watch my first show. Go watch my first recording.
Yeah, you'll know. Wow, he leveled up. Go watch ours. What was our first episode called? It's something about Hero. It literally like was that hero's journey talk about like a bunch of anime and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it looks terrible. It's me and my, just like you, I had an OG co-host. They got busy. They left me.
That's what happens, folks.
It's normal though.
Part of the journey. That just means that their journey just wasn't part of your journey, at least for the complete journey. Because for a moment they were there. And I always feel like we need to remember that moment. We need to cherish that moment, but we need to move forward. Keep moving forward.
Yeah. Wow, that hits home in a new way, more relevant to my current life. But thank you. God. Ralph, I have to get off stream or I'm just going to keep getting hit in the heart until I'm weeping on the internet. And that's not a clip that I need out there yet. Thank you. Thank you.
You guys do a great job. It was a great conversation. You guys made it easy. There's times where you got to pull teeth and things.
Yeah.
This was just really a flow of thought.
Good. Thank you. That really means a lot, especially from your 10 years on Bit and Apple TV. I'm going to keep watching and learning from you. And so
you're welcome on the show anytime you want. Come on the show, hang out.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'll write my essay about nipples again. And so I have something to bring to the conversation for sure. Maybe I can find it. I found some old letters the other day. Maybe it's still there.
And it's funny because a lot of that stuff we did as kids is more relevant than you think.
Right. Like, what is the male nipple really for? Think on that. That's the thought I'm going to leave you with, you guys. But stick around. We're going to raid. But until next time, I am Boser.
And I am WrittenWritRalf signing off.
And you just keep geeking out.
Out.
Bye-bye.
Get geeky.